probably more rain, I would guess.
Well, Puerto Rico supposedly got up to a foot.
Wow.
Hopefully,
Not good.
Hispaniola's mountains rip this thing apart.
Really?
That's what they're counting on, that it may actually be downgraded again.
Let's hope so.
But yeah, most of the modeling has it off the coast, east.
Well, that's reassuring to everybody.
Because yesterday, the main center track was right off the west coast.
Okay.
So, all good.
It is.
Well, it's finally warming up here. We were in the low 60s overnight.
Next week for Central Illinois, nothing above 80 and low humidity. Is that wonderful for August or what?
Weathermen lie 50% of the time. I wouldn't take bets.
I hear you.
So, Pat, how was your weather?
Hot. Hot and humid.
Oh, there you go.
We're heading down the shore on Saturday for 2 weeks, the whole family, the whole tribe.
Fun times.
Well, hopefully the storm doesn't track up the coast, or it gets out to sea before it gets up there, or you better bring your waders.
Doesn't affect me.
Who we missing?
Dwayne, I think. See what do we got first.
Minutes.
Oh, it's warm. We can go. We can get started.
We just need Dave back.
Yeah.
And we can get started.
The empty chair.
Long 60 seconds. The long 60 seconds.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, Pat.
I'm glad we didn't agree to hold our breath.
Yeah.
I love that chair, just perfectly centered in the frame.
Yeah. I know. I feel like we should do a song and a dance or something for the community.
Go ahead.
Oh, you got me speechless. That's pretty rare.
Well, can we do our minutes without Dave here?
Well, just so the owners know, we do have a little delay here because David is trying to accommodate a second computer for some of our owners who do not have access to a computer in an adjacent small boardroom at the Welcome Center. But
and he's got to get it up onto YouTube, or is this where he's doing it off of his computer, or that one? This one. So never mind.
I don't know.
Never mind.
Really don't.
He's using the one that he's got here.
Okay. So
Well, oil's down.
Oil?
Yeah,
Is that what you just said?
yes. A barrel of oil the price is down, which means gas goes down.
Okay, yes.
By the end of August, when we go to travel, it'll be up. It always does.
Okay.
This is Dwayne
David,
here.
are we ready?
Yes.
Ah, we have Wayne.
I was
Alrighty,
having
so,
trouble dialing in.
alrighty. Are we ready to get started? Thumbs up?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Good on my end.
All right. So I would like to welcome all of our video viewers and to the Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, July 30th. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the roll call, please. Barb? Absent. John Genevieve?
Here,
Okay. Joe Regenstein?
Here?
Dwayne Truitt?
Here.
Gary Washburn?
Here.
Pat Zollo?
Here.
And of course, David Blower.
Here.
Excellent. I'm going to start off the meeting with just an announcement, and it's a very good announcement. So tonight, last night, I received a very encouraging call from our Cypress Woods owners who tested positive 10 days ago with the COVID virus. And here is the true chain of events and the status right now. So on August 1st, both of these residents had called their MD regarding what they felt was a sinus infection. After the doctor prescribed necessary sinus medicine, the doctor also insisted that they would get a virus test. They did get a virus test, and on August 7th, the test did come back positive, but the good news is they not ever once had any symptoms or severe illness, so they were asymptomatic. They did the responsible thing. They isolated themselves for the now recommended 10 days, and they took it upon themselves to extend it until August 26th. Again, I repeat, they never once developed the symptoms, and their fellow neighbors and residents took care of all their needs. The doctor has released them. They feel great, and they feel blessed that they dodged a bullet. So we will be issuing an official statement to the community and to the owners on this. I totally respect how they displayed great self-discipline and respected the safety of all. So I thank them, and I am thrilled that everything is back to a healthy status. I also want to thank the community. During this situation, the community demonstrated extraordinary self-discipline and responsibilities to everyone. Masks were being worn, distances were kept, streets were pretty empty. So thank you to everyone down in Cypress Woodsville. So moving on. The minutes from our last meeting, July 3rd, I assume everyone has read. I do need a motion to accept and approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
By the way, I did want to ask that everyone, when you want to speak on the floor, just announce your name first, okay? And that way we can clarify who is responding. David, please make sure Brittany gets those minutes posted on the First Service portal.
Thank you.
All right, moving into the financial section of the meeting, we have received our 2019 audit draft. The entire board met with our auditor, Mr. Roding, and with Spires and Associates. All of our questions were answered with no conflict. So I do need a motion from the floor to accept our 2019 audit as determined by Spires and Associates.
I will so move.
I need a second.
Gary, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
Aye. John?
No opposed. The audit has been adopted. It will now be posted on the First Services portal. Along with that, we have received our invoice for the completion of the audit in the amount of $5,500, again payable to Spires and Associate. I need a motion to accept and approve that invoice.
It's Pat. I make a motion, we approve the balance of the $5,500 for the audit.
I'm
I need a
Joe,
second.
and I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Audit invoice is approved and accepted. David, please process through the normal channels.
Done.
The next thing that we're going to visit on is David has prepared a spreadsheet, and it has been sent to the entire board, which is a 6-month year-to-date report on where we are sitting financially for the first 6 months. I'm happy to tell you that once we take our total income and revenue for the first 6 months and subtract off all of our expenses, for the first 6 months, we are running a surplus of roughly $63,400. This is an excellent report. I'm glad that First Services provides this now. It's something that we've been asking for quite a while, and it's an excellent tool. Please understand, board and residents, that this year-to-date surplus to $63,000, we understand that it is including 3 months of off-season usage of utilities, and there was an early departure during in-season this year due to the COVID virus. So our occupancy was lower than expected also in March and April. So that does have an effect on this surplus. And also understand that once we go into third and fourth quarters and occupancy hopefully will increase, some of that surplus may not be as strong as what it is right now. So with that being said, we have a $63,000 surplus through June 1st. Keep that in mind as we go forward looking at some of the pending expenditures that we're going to discuss and hopefully approve later on in the meeting. All righty. David, let's talk about any of our maintenance dues delinquencies. Where are we sitting year to date right now?
Currently, we have nobody in the park more than 30 days delinquent for their actual fees. And actually, there's only about $5 that has passed 30 days right now through the whole park from late fees and miscellaneous things. So we're 100%. And it took me
Remarkable. I can't say I've ever remembered a time when we didn't have some degree of delinquency, but this is absolutely remarkable.
Well, July 1st, there are people who haven't paid July 1st yet, so we will likely have some 30-day delinquencies coming up. But at the moment, those aren't past 30 days yet. So, from the last quarterly, which is April, all of April's have been paid.
Good news.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Again, as we look at our future expenditures, keep in mind that our accounts receivable are right now almost nothing. So that's really good news.
We have about $19,000 in prepaids at the moment also. Just so you know, there's $19,000 in cash in there that's prepaid assessments.
Excellent. Thanks for factoring that in. All right, let's go into board now. We are going to look at our running list of revised 2020 project list that we started this, I believe, in February or March to start monitoring and looking at our needs, both this year and projected needs for next year. As the board is reviewing this, if you'll notice, board, the first 12 items listed that are shaded in peach, these are items that the board discussed back in March and that we have unofficially committed to. And those total at the bottom of the page, $46,588 that we have a contingency on repairing and replacing those 12 items to the tune of $46,588. I will tell you that at the end of the meeting, one of those items, which is the water volume issue, we do have a solid figure to put into that right now, but we won't do it at this point. I also want you to drop down to the very last item, which is a new barcode reader. Notice it is scheduled for 2021. David has secured a promising bid from Action Security, of which it is $6,500. Now, David, am I correct in assuming that once that barcode reader was hit last year by a vendor, okay, that ever since then we've had an audio problem between the guest and the front desk with Brittany? It's extremely distorted, correct?
Not exactly. That problem is intermittent, but it's been going on long before. The vendor only caused cosmetic damage. They did not. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't work any worse than it did before they hit it, but it's been an intermittent issue for a while, and I guess it's just the nature of that device. Okay. So everything is working. It's a cosmetic issue at the moment, but that barcode, or I'm sorry, it's not a barcode reader. It's the whole gate operator. It's been problematic. I mean, it does have issues from time to time, including that was also a problem before it was hit. I don't know if anyone has ever called you through that system, but they cut in and out, and they always have, and it doesn't always happen, but it's a bad system. The box was damaged cosmetically on the outside, but that will allow moisture to get in, so it is only a matter of time before the whole box goes out because of that external damage. It does have to be replaced.
Right. And I do stand corrected. I know it's not a barcode reader. This is the keypad with the audio to communicate with the receptionist, correct?
Correct.
Excuse me, Deb.
Is that Pat?
Hello.
We hear you, Pat.
Deb. Are we talking about the barcode reader or the call box?
The call box.
The call box. Yeah, I stand corrected on that. I stand corrected.
Call box. All right, thank you.
We did get a new barcode reader last year. When that one,
I know, that's why I questioned.
Right, the corrosion caused the barcode reader itself to go out, but the call box is the whole. That's the brains of the operation. That's the controller. That's what was hit last year or earlier this year. I forget the actual date, but it's been a problem, before, and it, obviously that didn't help the situation any. So, anyway, the new system, $6,500, which is about $1,500 more than a like replacement of what we have in there now. That also is intermittent issues. Even new, I think these things were a problem. This new one is touchscreen, has a lot more capability, video capability. We'll talk about that when it comes time. I'm just letting you know it's a good system.
And that is something I think once we go get a couple more months under our belt and we really know if there is extra surplus here, that maybe we want to change it from 2021 to later this year, just to have a good experience at the gate. And a less stressful experience from our guests and vendors. So that's where we are on our project list right now. And again, I want us to keep all of this in mind along with our 6-month year-to-date surplus as we go forward in this meeting. Any other comments on that? All righty. With that
Nicely
being
done.
said, Pat, thank you.
I'm sorry?
With that being said, with that being said, and we do have our year-end audit results of our year-end 2019 surplus was $89,600, which is reflected in our operating accounts, our checking accounts. I personally would like to recommend that we transfer an X amount of dollars from our operating account into our contingency reserve. Our contingency reserve is not a statutory reserve, as we all know. It is something that, as a need arises and the board agrees to it, we can withdraw from that account for major replacement or repairs. Pat, do you have any recommendations on that?
I do. I think we should transfer at least half, like 45,000 of that to the reserve. Like you said, we do have the ability, if we had to get access to it. We are running a surplus, and I think it's a good move to build up the reserve, and I think it's something we ought to think about every year.
Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have it in front of me now. Our current contingency reserve is right at 150,000.
I don't have that number with me right now.
Let me look real quick, because I think I can come up with it. Hold on.
I think it's somewhere like, 150, 154, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so board, with that in mind, if we transfer our 45,000 recommendation from Pat, we're sitting right at almost 200,000 in our contingency reserves, and I believe our road reserves are close to 77,000. Let me look.
77,000, right.
Road reserves. I don't have that in front of me. I apologize. So,
pulling it up.
Pat, would you like to make a motion then on an amount to transfer?
I move that we transfer $45,000 of the $89,000 surplus from 2019 into the reserve account.
I have a first motion. May I have a second motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, I'm going to call your names off as you vote. John, yay or nay for the transfer?
Yay.
Joe?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
And of course, Pat.
Yes.
It has been approved then to transfer $45,000 of our 2019 surplus into our contingency reserves. David, would you work with your office to do that journal entry, please?
Yes, and just so you know, right now, as of the June 30th financials, the contingency reserve has 69,556. The road reserve 80,215.
Excellent.
So a total of 149,947, and again, that will go up with the July assessments and with this $45,000 transfer.
Excellent. Okay. Under the final item under the financial agenda, when we became self-governed 7+ years ago and we had to acquire the Welcome Center from our developer, the board at that time was very proactive, and they did establish what we call a line of credit at our bank. Basically, and Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, that was a cautionary move just in case other expenses developed at that time, unknown expenses with the developer. Was that the scenario?
Yes.
And we did not tap into that?
I'm sorry?
We did not tap into that established line of credit?
We did establish a line of credit. I believe we took $100,000 and we had to we had to pay for the furniture and stuff that was not included. I've since paid that off and closed out the account. I know David has done the research and yourself about establishing a new line if we ever need it, which is probably a good move just to know exactly. It's not something that takes a lot of time. And since it is line of credits are the interest rates float with the economy, it doesn't matter if we wait till we need it to establish it. The interest rate's going to be what it's going to be. It's going to go up or down.
Yeah. Do we need any discussion on this, or can we give David the go-ahead and with a motion to go ahead and start the process, which is a no-charge process, by the way, of at least establishing a line of credit?
Well, I think there is
Any discussion?
Depending on the product we pick, there is like a $200 fee to open it, or there could be minimal, no charge from First Service to facilitate the process, but just a fee for the bank itself. Just so you know, it'll cost us $200 to have that money sitting around for the next year when we need it.
Okay.
Roughly.
Do we have more discussion?
Yeah, I don't see that we need it right now. I mean, we're running a surplus. We've got a surplus from last year. My fear is if it's there, it's going to get spent.
Okay.
So
Gary?
Yeah. Personally,
Gary?
See, if it comes up and we need it, we have options.
How long does it take to establish this? I mean, like a week or?
About 60 days from the time we fill out the initial application to when the money is available to use. Up to 60 days.
Okay. I don't see that we'd have an emergency that big that we would need it.
Get one in 48 hours.
What was that, Pat?
Pat, would you state it?
You must have worse credit than me. I can get the line of credit in 48 hours.
Well,
60
personal
days
lines are a little easier than business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you already have established banking relationships. It's not like you're going in cold somewhere. I mean, I made my feelings known.
Right. Well, I
would
think at this
suggest that
time
we pursue it to see what it's going to take. All right, Deb, I think we ought to keep researching it and just find out how long would it take. Because obviously, the only time I would think that we would use it is if we have an emergency type of thing. And so time would be of the essence.
right.
So I guess the question is, let's make sure we know how long it would reasonably take, and if there are fees involved, et cetera.
I think that's the right move to make. So David, let's just go ahead and pursue the time frame and nothing else. And then if you can report to the board on that, and then we could actually add it to the next agenda if we feel we would have to activate that. But I don't think we're ready to make a decision to do it.
Okay, so First Service Financial, the person who actually sets that up, he said plan on 60 days. But what he did say is we can use that money if we have an expense, say something happens, $60,000, who knows, whatever it is, we can spend the money from reserves, and when we get the line of credit, we can use it to fund that money back into our reserves. As if it was never taken from there. So we can borrow against ourselves if it's paid back in a timely fashion also, if we needed to. So we do have options there. But
Okay.
the timeline is that. That's not going to change when I go back and ask him the same question. So.
Okay.
But we are at the point where we've sort of got the information. It'll just come down to whatever product we choose, which bank, which interest rate, the length of it. And there's nothing that we would be able to do ahead of time. We just have to see what's available when we make the move. So
Is everyone comfortable just holding on this now, knowing we have these options, and we'll talk more seriously about it should we be presented with the situation? Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Moving on. I want to preference the next agenda item under our governing section. It's going to be talking about an ongoing perpetual summer issue that our management company has to deal with, and so do lot owners, and that is with the rainy season. It commands a lot more of your lot care, whether it be cutting vegetation or controlling weeds. This year has been extraordinarily time consuming for our staff. I know that most of our lot owners have employed who they want to take care of their lots, and most of the rates, as my husband and I do, are negotiated on a visit once a month to your lot, and if needed, they would treat weeds and cut vegetation. But in the summer months in Florida, we all know that things grow much faster than only a monthly treatment. So with that being said, we feel as a board that we need to at least seek out options to this ongoing problem, okay? And what can we currently do? Well, we have in our documents stated right now, okay, that Article 4:11, okay, states special assessments. The association may levy special assessments against selected owners who have caused the association to incur special expenses due to willful or neglected acts of said owners, their guests, or agents, and all such special assessments shall be collected upon demand by the association. So if we have a scenario where there are weeds starting to show on your lots, David and Brittany sends a friendly notice. It's not a violation, it's a friendly notice via email and postal mail that you've got some weeds popping up, and we ask that you clear these up within 14 days. All right. Now, they've gone to the email notice because so many of our owners are Canadian, and there's a huge slowdown in U.S. mail, and there's a good chance that they could receive this friendly notice actually after the 14 days. We're asking for this to be cured. The second notice then goes out 14 days later, okay, that the issues are getting worse. Okay, they're now not inch tall weeds, they're 6 inch tall weeds. And so once again, written notice as well as email notice. After that, we're into 28 days now, and you can only imagine how tall these weeds get. So if an owner was not responsive back to David, and the weeds are continuing to grow at a rapid pace, we as an association have the power within our documents right now to go correct it for them, okay? If their contractor, their lot care contractor hasn't shown up, we have the ability to have Newell or Chris, our maintenance engineer, to actually go in and treat for the owner so it doesn't go into a violation notice, okay? This is an option right now. So with laying the scenario out to the board, do we have any discussion on this situation right now?
Gary. David, can you tell me, might not being there in the summer, how long can you go without, killing your weeds? Can you go a month? Or would you end up getting a violation?
Well, it depends. We have 471 lots. Close to 400 of them never get a violation. They never get bad. Probably 300 of those 400, you don't even see a single weed. So I don't know what frequency some of these things are being treated. Some of it probably has to do with location and things, but. Can you see my screen right now? There's a picture of me standing next to a weed that's up to my waist on someone's lot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what can happen in 30 days of no treatment. And I pulled that one out. That thing's 3 feet tall. I pulled it out of the ground at the roots just so people don't drive by and see a 3-foot tall weed in the back of the lot. But there are, it doesn't take long. Within a week, you can have your whole lot covered in 1-inch tall weeds. And depending on what type of weed it is, 2 weeks after that, those ones could be 6 inches tall, they could be a foot tall, or they don't get tall at all and they just spread. So I can't give you a magic number on a timeline, but I can tell you the way we do our process right now, because there's so many different types of weeds and so many different issues, Brittany and I both have to agree, and we're as lenient as I think we reasonably should be. Say, look, no one expects you to be out there treating weekly. Even every other week, if you treat every 14 days and we come the day it was treated or the day after, they don't look, they're not dead yet. They take some time to die. So we put a lot of them on like a separate list, not a violation, but we make a list and we go back and check it a few days later, say, okay, well, now it's past the mark. This thing obviously wasn't treated at the 14-day mark. So, then we move on to a second violation and things, or a first violation at that, if it's something. So again, 2 of us have to agree, but there is no magic timeline. Some lots just don't get weeds, and some of them look horrible within, a week or 10 days of their last treatment.
Can I interject also? Let me interject. On an average, since the rainy season kicked in, David and Brittany issue close to 30 every single week notices to owners. So that's 30 you have to follow up within a 2-week period, etc. But here's what we can do right now. And I'm just sending this out to the owners so they know we're trying to look into it for maybe a remedy that we don't have to go through next year and options. But right now, at the 30-day point, if it hasn't been treated, we're not getting calls from the owner, we're not getting cooperation, we have the right to go in and the obligation to our residents to keep our resort looking proper, okay, to go in and fix the problem ourselves and bill it back to the owners. And that's what I'm just bringing forward to the community today, so they know that this is the route that we are lawfully going to be taking, because that's what we get to do right now, backed by our documents. Yeah, those are nasty. Those are pretty nasty. Yeah.
The pictures that David just put up, I was looking at my printout of them. There's one from May 21st, June 19th, and July 20th of the same plant and the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
And it has gotten to the point you can't tell where the bush ends and the weeds start by July. And when you see the same picture three different times over
Mm-hmm.
time, yeah, I mean that. And I assume that it's gone into his grass too, or her grass, whoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
okay. So basically, we will be enforcing our documents, and in the meantime, we will be pursuing options to present to our community, and we're going to talk with the community on this. Maybe the community has some suggestions on their own that we need to consider. But I feel strongly that David and Brittany reach out to these owners to let them know that their lot caretakers are not performing or not responding, whatever the case may be. So this is a friendly approach by David and Brittany. Do we have any more comments from the board?
Yeah, I do. Dave sent this out. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to read it because it just came out, but this came from Pat Asbury. As per our conversation, it is our professional opinion as realtors that if a lot is let go for weeds, it affects the way the resort presents itself, and it can affect property values. The way the community looks demonstrates pride of ownership. We feel there is a need to stay on top of making sure the properties are kept up for everyone's benefit. Signed by Pat and Michael. And, you know, I'm sure Dwayne would agree.
Yeah, we ran into them last time we were out doing weeds, and we were talking about it because, you know, like I said, if we give 30 violations or friendly notices, we have 20 to 30 more that we put on a separate list and go, you know what, we'll check them in a couple days too, because we understand. I mean, look, I'm here, no one else is. Things grow so fast, and sometimes they take multiple treatments to die, and like knowing all of that and going out with Chris and him explaining this to me, you're not getting a notice from us until we are 100% sure that either you're not treating, or, you know, not maybe intentionally or not, or your landscaper is missing things. Sometimes they just treat the concrete and they'll let the weeds grow 3 foot tall in the bushes. They'll kill all the ones in the concrete and they treat certain areas and they're so again, we're being as reasonable as we possibly can without letting it look like some of those pictures I sent you. But when it gets to an extreme case, that's when we're asking for a little bit of authority to clean it up for people.
Okay. Well, this is not a topic that we will resolve today, but I wanted to put it out to the community so they're aware of the leniency and tolerance. But we will be enforcing that, and there could be at times a bill back to the owner so we can correct the issue, but it's not without ample notice that the owner has received. So we will stay alert to that. We will look at options. We will be open for suggestions from the owners, and we will have a solution before we go into next season. All righty, moving on. I'm going to turn the floor over to Dwayne Truitt, who's going to put on his other hat as developer right now, because due to he and his architects and engineers have addressed and has a viable solution to our water flow and pressure and volume problem. So Dwayne, if you would take the floor.
Okay, thank you, Deb. Yeah, and Deb had asked me to go ahead and essentially just read this written report that I distributed to the other members of the board this morning. This report is fine for distribution to all association members as well. So let me just read through it, and then, you know, you may have some questions and discussion. So starting with that, 2 water supply problems are needed to be resolved. The first one is that L26 developer needs to pass the required fire flow test in order to get approval from the county of both their zoning amendment and the related development order. So this is a test we have to pass in order to get that approval so that we can, you know, construct some of the things that we've asked for. Secondly, there is a low water pressure issue that's been experienced by some but not all residents from time to time within Cypress Woods, and apparently it's been ongoing for years. The current Lee County development or land development code standard for new construction is a fire flow test at a hydrant of 1,000 gallons per minute with a 20 pounds per square inch residual pressure. That's the technical standard. The results from the fire flow tests we've been doing this year to date, all of them performed on hydrants within Cypress Woods Resort, ranged from around 760 to 850 gallons per minute. So none of them are passing the 1,000 gallon per minute standard. That standard, by the way, is one that applies to all new construction in the county. So in coordination with the association, our engineers have done a number of things to try and ferret out what's the issue. Why aren't we passing? This includes exercising all the valves within the water system inside the resort, inspecting all the irrigation supply connections to determine if there are any illegal cross connections to the potable water system. We evaluated the existing design of the water mains throughout Cypress Woods, and that also includes modeling of the performance of the system. And we've also, through the HOA, ordered and conducted an inspection and test of the backflow preventer. That is, that's something everybody can see. It's above ground just north of Luckett Road and south of the main gate. We attempted fire flow tests at different times of the year to see if factors like resort occupancy were affecting the results. There is also an ongoing debate between our engineers and the Lee County Plans review staff over the appropriate fire flow test protocol procedure. And essentially, we think the county is wrong in how they're applying the test protocol, and we expect that we will eventually prevail in that argument. We've also had discussions with Lee County Utilities, who essentially provides the water to the resort, about potentially increasing their supply pressure. And we also went back sort of after all of the above and researched the Land Development Code standards to see whether the existing standard, when it was put in place and whether it was in place when Cypress Woods was originally zoned and permitted and built. As a result of all these investigations and analyses, of which we spent a great deal of money in the several tens of thousands of dollars, we've concluded the following. Number one, the Cypress Woods potable water supply system appears to be performing more or less just as it was designed in the late 1990s. Number two, the backflow preventer is of a type and an age that it appears to be causing excessive pressure loss. And if replaced with a new unit of a more efficient design, that could increase the water supply pressure within the resort by up to 6 pounds per square inch, which we believe would mitigate the apparent low pressures that have been experienced in some parts of the resort. Number three, the existing backflow preventer requires repair and maintenance and inspection that has been quoted by Wayne Fire, and it was previously accepted by this board at a cost of approximately $2,600. Replacement of the backflow preventer has also been quoted by Wayne Fire at a cost of $13,500, and if we did that, that would negate the need for the repair and inspection of the existing unit. The net cost of the new unit, therefore, would be just under $11,000. L26 Development offers to pay to the HOA our pro rata share of that cost, which would be based upon 137 lots in Section E or Laguna Crebe out of 608 lots total. And that comes to $3,042 that would go to reduce the HOA's cost for replacement, with the net result of not spending the inspection and repair, and L26's contribution would be a net of $7,858 to the association. Number four, the areas of the resort that are reporting low pressures appear to be those that are located on a series of 4-inch, what we call deadhead spur mains, rather than the main 8-inch loop. By deadhead, we mean a spur that doesn't connect in a continuous loop with the 8-inch main system. There's nothing that can really be done now about those 4-inch pipes in certain sections of the resort that wouldn't carry with it a massive cost to change that out to a bigger pipe size. And by massive, we mean 6 figures and possibly even into 7 figures. which is not just the cost of the pipe, but it would be the fact that you'd have to dig up the roads and all the driveways and landscaping and hardscaping. That's where it can get into the 7-figure range. Fifth conclusion, LCU, Lee County Utilities, intentionally operates its water mains at the low end of the allowable range of 50 to 70 PSI. And this is something they're consistent with throughout all of Lee County. We've talked to a number of developers, engineers, and contractors, and this is a consistent problem throughout the entire county. When we asked LCU if they would be willing to increase the supply pressure to Cypress Woods by, say, 5 to 10 PSI, they told us no. To change LCU policy, such as we would like to see it, would almost certainly require intervention by the Lee County Board of Commissioners. Number 6, our research indicates that the LDC standard for fire flow tests that was applicable from 1992 until 2013, when the new standard went into place, that period encompasses the entire zoning and development order approval and processing and actual construction of Cypress Woods. And that standard that was in effect at that time, throughout that entire time period, was only 500 GPM. The county cannot, by law, retroactively impose drastically revised infrastructure requirements on previously entitled, permitted, and constructed communities. So therefore, the existing system meets the legally applicable standards for fire flow tests at the time it was permitted and built. So essentially, Cypress Woods should be safe from imposing any new requirements. So with all of those conclusions being said, we make several recommendations. Number 1, L26 recommends that the board rescind its prior approval for the repair and inspection task for the existing backflow preventer, which comes to roughly $2,600. We also recommend that the board approve and order the replacement of the backflow preventer in accordance with the Wayne Fire quote at the previously mentioned price of $13,500. Thirdly, L26 does in fact offer to contribute our pro rata share of that expense. And fourthly, we believe that if this were done, that this would at least alleviate to some degree the low pressure issues experienced by some of our residents. So with that being said, open any discussion or questions.
Dwayne, the existing backflow preventer, it's like 20-some years old. Do you think that'd be a problem getting parts for that if something else should happen with it?
I can't tell you that it would be a. Yeah, I can't tell you that would be a problem. Our Wayne Fire was able to find a replacement pressure relief valve, which was a component that they red tagged out during their inspection, but it took them like 3 months to find it. So, you know, at least that particular part, it was available, but not easily. Let me add also that the backflow preventer, according to the manufacturer's data that they provided us, the way it's supposed to function is that as soon as you get positive flow through the preventer, it's supposed to fully open and therefore should not cause any additional pressure loss regardless of the flow rate that goes through it. But that's not what we're seeing. What we're finding is from our testing is that the higher the flow rate, the more the pressure loss, which that indicates to our engineers that it's likely that the mechanism is getting worn and corroded, or both, and it's only going to get worse with time, not better. And because it should be essentially no additional pressure loss regardless of the flow. So that's another reason we think replacement is the way to go.
You know, my opinion is after 20 some odd years that we'd be better off to put a new unit in there and hopefully get another 20 or 25 out of it. Otherwise, we're probably going to be repairing that old one and as you indicated, we won't get the additional pressure if we keep the old one in there.
That's correct.
Do we have any more discussion, board?
I would just suggest that if we're going to do the new one, that we make sure we also do the ongoing maintenance, not wait
Yeah.
20 years to decide it needs
Thank you.
maintenance.
Okay. Any other discussion?
One of our residents who was on the water flow committee just informed me. His opinion is also replace it. Do what Dwayne said. Said that thing it's old, corroded, and it's going to end up costing more money to fix over time. So just replace it. From someone on the water flow committee that we had last year.
Very well. Okay, so Dwayne, I just want to make sure, first of all, thank you for offering L26 to go ahead and accept their responsibility on the prorated amount, which is $3,042 toward the purchase of the new part. I would ask that you send us a draft of an agreement on that, and both parties would sign it just so we have a paper trail. At this point, I do need a motion to rescind what we originally approved, which was roughly $26.50 for the part for the backflow preventer, as well as the inspection.
I will
Gary, I
so move. Yep.
So moved.
Wait, hold on.
All in favor?
Nope, don't vote yet.
Oh,
The $26.50
Go ahead.
included the fire system at the town center. So there was 2 separate invoices that we approved at the last meeting. Only one of those, I believe it was the
$16.50.
Yes.
Okay. So let's revise the motion to rescind the $1,650 previously approved for the antiquated replacement of that part. I need that motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. I now need a motion for us to, I'm going to back up for just a second. We have one bid from Wayne, automatic fire sprinklers, and thanks to Dwayne's company and engineers, they were able to secure the bid. I also know that David had a meeting with Aztec Plumbing 2 days ago, and their bid has not come in. Instead of approving a vendor, can we approve an amount not to exceed the one bid that we have? If so, I would need a motion on that.
I move that we approve the expenditure of $13,500 for the replacement of the backflow preventer, which I think it's interesting to note that the county inspected that on April of this year, and it failed, and the failure notice gave us 10 days to correct. So we shouldn't waste any more time getting it fixed. But the $13,500 be the maximum outlay.
I have a first motion. May I have a second motion?
Joe seconding.
Okay, I'll do a roll call on the vote. John Genovese? I think he's kicked off.
Let me look.
No, I don't see him.
No, sorry about that. Yay.
Okay, Joe,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes, but let me add one note here that if this other bid, I would request that if it's lower, that before we would accept a lower bid, that David would check with our engineers, Peninsula Engineers, and ensure that their bid is actually the same thing.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's a pretty technical thing that I think the engineer ought to weigh in on.
Absolutely.
Good idea.
Gary,
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Okay, we have approved the allocation of $13,500 to replace the backflow preventer. We also know that David will be working with Dwayne's crew should a second bid come in less than that. Okay, moving on. We're going to talk about a concrete repair that is needed in front of the laundry room outside entrance where the keypad is. That 6 foot by 9 foot slab of concrete has cracked and been raised about 1 1/4 inches. It is a safety hazard. We have secured 2 bids, and the problem with a job this small is usually the contractor has to wait until there's a excess load being delivered, because the amount of concrete is almost insignificant to a major job. So right now we do have a quote to saw cut and remove the damaged concrete and to replace with new concrete pavement. It will be flush with the adjacent pavement, and also they will be adding the rebar dowels for reinforcement. The total bid by Solid Pave is $1,918. I would need a motion to accept.
I make a motion that we spend $1,918 to repair the concrete at the laundry room entrance.
I need a second motion.
Second, Pat.
Okay, is there any further discussion? If not, let's take it for a vote. John?
Yay.
Joe? Jojo?
He's here. He's
First to
muted.
Joe.
He muted himself, so he must have dogs barking.
Yes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. Dwayne?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
So approved. Solid Pave, $1,918 to replace the concrete in front of the laundry room entrance. We're going to table a discussion on item 11, conservation area management proposal. We're not ready to discuss that. We will do a little bit more research and get back on that for the next meeting. Final thing on this agenda is the town center refresh proposal from the actual 5-star committee. I have sent the board an itemized list to complete the project, both painting fixtures and window coverings. I have highlighted my recommendation on the items that we should fund now and items that we need to fund and factor into our 2021 budget. The items being recommended total $3,155. May I interject that this would be an incredibly higher bid, okay, if we had to hire out all the painting labor. I want to recognize Kathy Orris and her team who have offered all of their labor and expert painting ability. And this has saved us literally thousands of dollars. I also want to recognize Laura Iaconis, who with her incredible woodworking ability is going to frame out some of the mirrors so they look much more presentable and add to the decor. So with that being said, is there any discussion on this right now? If not, I do need a motion to approve $3,155 as phase 1 of our town center interior paint, fixture, and window covering project.
I will so move.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, do we have any more discussion? If not, I will call for a vote. Okay, John Genovese,
Yay.
Joe Regenstein,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Gary Washburn,
Yes.
Pat.
Yes.
We have approved $3,155 to move forward with phase 1 of the town center refresh project. David, would you please make sure all of the necessary items are moving forward on that and work with the committee?
Yes. Now, just be aware, if we're only approving the great room chandelier, the one that matches a smaller version for the lobby may not be available when we go to look for it down the line. So we may have two different chandeliers, but that's okay. Just, it's something to note.
Oh, I wish you would have
What
brought
are the
that up
additional
before.
dollars?
$360.
Can I change the motion to include that so I don't have that issue?
If you want to change the motion, we'll see if the board carries it. Do we have a second on his motion?
I'll second it. All right.
Okay, any more discussion on that? All right, we're gonna add to the motion then now. I'm not sure. I guess I have to take a revote on this then.
Yep.
John,
Yay.
Joe,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Pat. Pat, you're laughing. Come on, either vote yes or no.
I'm a yes.
Okay. Progress made. Fantastic. Okay, so we are now committing to 3415. Excellent. And again, thank you to the committee and to Kathy Orris and her team. We're going to finish
I think it's
this productive meeting.
35.15,
What?
I believe.
It is 3515.
Just making sure, just so it's on record.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, we're going to finish up this highly productive meeting with a word from our developer. He has a new update for us, and Dwayne, if you would enlighten our community as to where we are with Laguna Creek.
Okay, I'll keep this brief. I know this meeting's been pretty long so far. The number one thing that has prevented us so far from starting major construction for development of Laguna Creek has been waiting on a permit from South Florida Water Management District. All I can say is they took their time. We resolved whatever issues that needed to be resolved like 5 or 6 weeks ago, but they did advise us a couple of days ago that they expect to put that permit out to us either by Friday or Monday. So it looks like we're just about ready to get that authorized, and then we can go ahead and sign contracts and get construction going. In the meantime, starting today, we've got work that's beginning now to do what's called the indigenous restoration work. That is work that goes way back, 20 years ago when Ari Harpaz scraped a section at the north end of what is now, Laguna Creek that wasn't legal to do. He got called on it by the county. They fined him. They ended up with a consent order, and then he lost the property in foreclosure, and that sort of put the kibosh on the whole enforcement thing. It never got done. We negotiated with the county the scope of work to do that, and they agreed, and we're now going forward to starting today. Today we're moving some dirt around that should finish either today or tomorrow. And then probably starting next week, our environmental guys can start planning the plants that they have to do. So those are the two major items. we don't really have anything more to announce in terms of sales or product or whatever, because it sort of depends on our zoning. Our zoning amendment application went in, of course, months ago. We got notified a couple of weeks ago that the first public hearing will be conducted by Lee County before the plans examiner on September 10th. And so we are going to want to encourage all of our friends here in Cypress Woods to show up for that meeting and hopefully support us. Not too many boos, hopefully. But we would like to get some community support on that, including something maybe from the board to endorse what we're doing. And then once that meeting is completed, there'll be a subsequent hearing before the full county commission. That would probably be somewhere around 30 to 45 days later. And that final vote would basically grant us our zoning approval. So that's all I have to report.
Dwayne, where are those meetings being held?
I don't know that information yet. I'm guessing it would be probably held at the county, center, but I don't really know. They haven't put out an official publication of that yet, but as soon as I get it, I'll share it with the whole board.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. If not, I want to thank everyone. This was a highly productive meeting. I appreciate everybody's professionalism. Also, I do need a motion to dismiss.
I make a motion that we are done.
All right. Everyone have a fantastic day and enjoy your week.
Bye-bye.